I'd like to call a meeting to order. This meeting is being held in the city council or in the council chambers and is open for public attendance and participation. Can I have a roll call, please?
Chairperson Brookman,
Here.
Vice Chairperson Johal, Commissioner McFarland, Commissioner Blankenship,
Here.
Commissioner Sluter,
Here.
County Liaison Campbell.
I'd like to note that Vice Chair Johal is out with an excused absence. And next we have the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Public communication, you are welcome and encouraged to participate in this meeting. Public comment on items not listed on the agenda will be heard at this time. Comments on controversial items may be limited, and large groups are encouraged to select representatives to express the opinions of the group. Written requests. Members of the public submitting written requests at least 24 hours prior to the meeting will be normally allotted 5 minutes to speak. Do we have any written requests?
There are no written requests.
Moving on. Appearance of interested citizens. Members of the public may address the Planning Commission on the items of interest that are within the city's jurisdiction. Individuals addressing general comments are encouraged to limit their statements to 3 minutes. Do I have any comments from the public? Seeing none, we will move on. Agenda modifications. Is there interest in from the commission in modifying the agenda? Okay. Consent calendars. All matters listed under consent calendar are considered to be routine and can be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items prior to the time that the commission votes on the motion unless members of the Planning Commission request specific items to be discussed or removed from the consent calendar for individual action. Is there any public comment on consent calendar for item 2? Hearing none, I'll bring it back to the commission for comments or action.
I do have a comment on the July 23rd meeting, since you were the only commissioner at that meeting.
Okay.
Can we approve those minutes, even though we weren't at the meeting, to know if they're technically correct?
That's a good question, Doug.
Would our city attorney care to answer that question?
Yes, you can. If you've read them and you haven't heard any reason why they are incorrect, you can approve the minutes.
Okay. And that being said, I've read the minutes. I would make a motion that we approve the July 23rd and August 13 meeting minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Yeah, passes. Next, we have a presentation from Doug Libby, Developmental Services Director, for apartments and development of a 218-unit income-based affordable housing apartment complex located on a 7.7 acre parcel at 428 North Walton Avenue. Assessor's parcel number 58-120-001, Merrimack Village.
Well, good evening, Commission. Thank you for being here and hearing. This is what you got to be as this new commission. This is your first project that you're hearing. So this is Merrimack Village Apartments. You may have heard about it before. It's actually been in the works for over a couple years now, and I'll kind of walk you through that. So this is Development Plan 2502. So tonight, what you're considering is making a recommendation. Now, City Attorney Fox said that quasi-judicial actions like use permits and the like, you typically can approve those. Now, this is a development plan, so in many circumstances, you can approve these. However, when you have a project that's 100 or more units, there's a provision of our municipal code that says you make a recommendation and the city council takes final action. So in this item tonight, You're actually going to make a recommendation, you're considering making a recommendation to the City Council to rescind its approval of Development Plan 2302, determine the Merriman Village is a home key funded project, and pursuant to the cited Health and Safety Code section, Development Plan 2502 is actually a ministerial project. Determined that the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, does not apply to ministerial projects, and recommend approval of Development Plan 2502. So what are some key facts for this project? Well, 428 North Walton Avenue, it's about 7.7 acres, has a general plan designation of high density. So that has a range that's allowed of, on the low side, of 12 dwelling units per acre, up to 36. And for zoning, it actually has our R3, or multiple family residential zoning, but has an X overlay. And I'll go into that what that means in a moment. So we're going to walk down memory lane a little bit. So back in May of 2022, the State Department of Housing and Community Development, you'll hear us oftentimes cite their abbreviation HCD. They certified our current housing element in it that promotes a variety of housing types to support our community. Now, fast forward to February of 2023, there was a community workshop held to receive feedback on the concept for Merriman Village. The meeting was attended by both city staff as well as Habitat for Humanity team, and approximately 20 members of the public attended. There was questions and answers, and a presentation was made. And then in March, Habitat for Humanity presented the concept to the City Council, who directed staff to bring the item back further for consideration. And then in May, the City Council authorized a joint application with Habitat for Humanity, applying for Home Key 3.0 funding, and authorized the mayor to submit a funding commitment letter for the city to contribute almost $1.8 million in development fee waivers and $155,000 annually of available permanent local housing allocation, or PLHA funds. That's state housing money that the city has access to. In August of 2023, the Planning Commission recommended approval of Merriman to the City Council. It was back in September 19th of 2023 where City Council originally approved the Merriman project. 2024 was actually an exciting year for the project because we received notification in February that our application had been approved. And then it was July of 2024 that we were notified that we actually had a grant of $24.6 million for home key funding for phase 1 of the Merriman project. And that's a big number. That's a big deal, bring that kind of grant money to our local area. And so that brings us fast forward to today. Since that time, there's been a lot of work done on the project. There's been a funding gap that Habitat's been trying to close. And that is led partially to the reason why we're here tonight. So the project's over a couple years old now. And so really, this is an opportunity for Habitat for Humanity to kind of bring things current. There's some new CEQA exemptions that are available for a project like this that weren't available previously. In fact, if you read the previous staff report that cited a different health and safety code section, that section's not even usable anymore. So it allows us to bring the project current, and I think between city staff and Habitat, we're getting a little momentum that we really think this project can get over the finish line in the coming months and start seeing construction. So the current proposal. So an important distinction about this new application is that it's utilizing a new health and safety code section as a basis for project approval. The project is not subject to environmental review. It's considered ministerial. So you'll hear that term, you're like, well, what does ministerial really mean? So if you have a vacant lot and you come into the city and you say, hey, I want to build a house in that lot. And the city says, yes, you need to meet the city standards for building a home. That's a ministerial action. You don't have to go through an environmental review process. Similarly, there's been a lot of legislative changes, as John noted, over the last several years that has affected how we approach housing in California. So in this case, for this application, this means that the city does not have discretion, unlike the previous application. So the project remains the same, 218 unit income-based affordable apartment complex, 28 units to the acre. And as I noted earlier, this was within our X29 overlay. And so that was a requirement of our housing element. We had to designate a certain number of properties within the city, apply this overlay, which requires that the property develop at a minimum of 20 units per acre. In this case, we have 28 units. We're doing well. As you would expect, a project like this is proposed in phases. Phase 1, Building 4, which is along Walton Avenue, is the 79 units. That's going to be the kind of first phase to be developed. It'll have all on-site improvements, including roadways, parking, curb gutter, utilities, perimeter wall, and 4 trash enclosures. And then the phase 2 is the remaining. And I know Habitat is actively pursuing funding so that the full project build-out can occur. I would note that the heights, so the tallest building on the project is going to be that Building 4 along Walton Avenue. That's going to be 4 stories. You don't see a lot of those in Yuba City. So the zoning code has a height in the height limit in the R3 zoning of 48 feet. So this project, that building would be have a height of 46 feet. So it's within the zoning requirements. You'll see the other buildings as noted, whether they're buildings 2 and 3 are 3-story. Building 2 is also 3-story. When we look around the project, there's going to be a solid decorative wall around the perimeter of the project, not along Walton Avenue though. And then if you were to look at the drawings, you would see that the setback for this 3-story building from the property line, you're looking at about 77 feet there. When you look at the single-story facilities building, you're probably looking at closer to 16 feet from setback, but it's single-story, about 12 feet on the south side, and about 11 feet for this building, but it adjoins commercial over here. Here's some of the pretty renderings for the building. You know, you can see a variety of colors, breaking up wall space, different textures, materials being used, all sign of good design, and we like to see. The worst thing we like to see is just vast expanses of blank wall space. And you don't see that here. So this project is consistent with the general plan. It helps the city comply with a number of our policies. We list these out both in your staff report as well as up on the screen. So as I noted, the Health and Safety Code section here, 50675.1.3I, specifies that home-key projects shall not be subject to discretionary review and approval. And CEQA Guidelines Section 15268A and 15002I state that CEQA applies to discretionary actions. So as a result, home-key projects are ministerial and not subject to CEQA. In a project like this, the reason why you'll hear me cite the specific code section, I know you can read it, it's really just to get it on the record. So conditions of approval. So typically on a ministerial project, you don't have conditions of approval. You meet the standards. However, in this case, because we did have previous conditions of approval, Habitat for Humanity has agreed to comply with those that were approved by the City Council on September 19, 2023, except for a condition number 12A, which was removed. And the reason why that one condition was removed was because it references the previous Health and Safety Code section exemption that we're no longer using. But all the other conditions continue to apply to the project. As you heard from John Fox at your training, the decisions you make are based on findings. So the findings are laid out in your resolution that's before you. These things cover a variety of things, such as proposed use is adequate in size, the streets serving the site are adequate, the design and scale of the project will complement neighboring facilities. And finding number 4, the application satisfies at least one finding, and it lists a municipal code section, which is really flood protection. And the good news is this project has 200-year flood protection, as does most of Yuba City. So the recommendation is to conduct a public hearing, make the necessary findings, and adopt a resolution recommending the City Council of Yuba City rescind its previous approval of Development Plan 2302, determine Merrimack Village Apartments meets the requirements of a home key project, and that pursuant to the Health and Safety Code section cited, Development Plan 2502 is a ministerial project, and that project, and pursuant to CEQA guidelines section cited, CEQA does not apply to ministerial projects, and approved Development Plan 2502, Merrimack Village Apartments, with the project description up on the screen. I'm happy to answer questions for you, but we also have members from the Habitat team here who also may want to make some comments to you. So with that, thank you.
All right, I'd like to open the public hearing. And push the button, will you?
All right. Thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Joseph Hale, and I'm with Habitat for Humanity Yuba Sutter. I mainly just wanted to kind of bring up, so this project is obviously to serve low-income families and individuals in the community to help kind of, reach the goals for those kind of who would, normally be in poverty and not maybe have access. The other thing I was going to mention is in regards, in the great presentation, very thorough. I couldn't think of much else to say, but I just wanted to comment on one item really, which was that a lot of what it does is the new CEQA exemption really is going to reduce a lot of future paperwork, reporting, and make it a lot easier on us once the project closes out. Because after you're done with it, there's 5 years of reporting and things you have to deal with. There's Department of Industrial Relations who you have to work with to provide information to. And this kind of simplifies that process for us as well and for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments? All right, I'd like to close the public hearing. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion that we adopt a resolution asking the City Council of the City of Yuba City to rescind their previous approval of Development Plan 2302.
Second.
So to simplify the motion, because I understand there's a lot there, is if you agree with the motion, the simplest way would say I would make a motion for the recommended action as reflected in your staff report.
Okay. I will make a motion for the recommended action in your staff report.
Second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Future agenda items. Item 4, Jaspreet, could you give us an update?
All right, good evening. So my update is going to be the same as our last Planning Commission meeting. We will be canceling the September 10th Planning Commission meeting, and on September 24th, staff will bring forward 3 items for consideration. The first will be a tentative subdivision map 2405, which is our Elmer West tentative subdivision map. We also will have a general plan amendment, a rezone, a plan development, and a tentative subdivision map 2501, the Ridge Estates, which is on El Margarita. And lastly, we will also have an ADU ordinance update just to make sure that we comply with our the new state law for ADUs. And October, November, December, with the holidays approaching, as well as staff, we will be attending some training. So October, we might have a meeting, the first meeting, the second one will definitely be canceled. And then November, the second one will be canceled because it'll be Thanksgiving. And then December, the second meeting will be canceled because it'll be Christmas. Crazy to think that the year's almost over. So we will see you guys on September 24th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have the Developmental Services Director report, Doug Libby.
All All right, Mr. Chairman, I'll keep this pretty brief. So I just want to update the commission. So the Regional Housing Authority's Richland Village project at 470 Bernard Drive, you may have seen something in the newspaper about it. It's a 133-unit affordable multifamily housing development, costs $67.2 million. Originally approved in January of 2021, and with extensions, it's approved through January 2027. So the good news is that through actions of the city as well as Regional Housing Authority and the grant money, they have full funding of that project now, and so they're hoping to probably have a groundbreaking and start turning dirt before the rains fly. So that's good news. It's exciting because when you take their project and then the last project on your agenda, in a city the size of Yuba City, that could mean that we will have about 351 new affordable housing units in our community. That's huge. That's a really big deal. That's going to help the city at the end of this decade when we go to update our housing element again, as required by state law, because we're going to have all these units that we have being built, and that also helps keep us in good graces with HCD. So it's exciting to see these things happen. So with that, Jaspreet's already talked about the future meeting schedule, so that would conclude my comments unless you have any questions.
Next, report of actions from the Planning Commission. Yuba City Planning Commissioners can provide any updates on any items at this time. Anybody have any updates? And finally, the Sutter County Liaison can provide any updates, but he is not with us tonight. So with that said, I'd like to adjourn the meeting at 6:22.